Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Jennifer. We are a middle-aged couple with a serious fetish for movie popcorn and a Regal Unlimited subscription.
Even though we are not sponsored by or monetized by or any way associated with the Regal Corporation. We just happen to live near a Regal theater.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jennifer, did we see a movie tonight?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, we did, because that's an unusual thing in our lives. So we thought we'd share this unusual moment with you.
And what did we see?
We saw the Thunderbolts. Or we saw Thunderbolts? The Thunderbolts?
Thunderbolts asterisk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a Marvel movie.
Yep.
I realize I should have looked up what number this is in the series. It's 30 some odd.
37 or something, right?
I don't know. That's why I'm like, I should have looked it up. But whatever it is, I have seen every single one of those movies in the movie theater with the exception of Thor 2.
Yeah.
That's a terrifying statement of modern entertainment, perhaps. But yeah, so at least I know where of which I speak, even though you're the one that actually remembers what happens in every single one of the movies. Where quite frequently I'm like, who was that? I know that's a somebody that I've seen before, but I don't remember where. You always remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
I'm the story dude.
Yeah, you remember all the stories. It's great. It's
glad,
really
I'm
helpful. It's really helpful.
So, Jennifer, what did you think about this movie?
You know...
Was it better than Fight or Flight?
Every movie was better than Fight or Flight. That is not the standard.
I wouldn't say that. We've seen some really bad movies.
We have, but I mean, Fight or Flight is a really low standard. This movie is how does it fit in the Marvel universe? To me, is how you weigh it, right? Like I talk about or think about the quality of those movies differently than other movies. Like I don't expect any of them to be the most amazing movie ever or to truly make sense, right? Like it's superhero logic, which means it's not logic. But so inside the universe of Marvel, this is pretty good. Like it's not amazing, but it's not terrible, and it doesn't just repeat stuff, even though it is all characters, or the large majority of them are characters that you've seen before. It's not just like repeating the same story exclusively, and it's not another, hey, we're introducing a new superhero, so here's the story of how they get to be a superhero story, like it's an origin story for a group, but it's not exactly like the Avengers movie. Like, is it 100% novel? No, but it was better than serviceable. And I feel like a lot of the last Marvel movies have been serviceable or purely fan service. And even ones that were better movies than that ended up turning out that way, like Black Panther 2. Mm-hmm. Like that movie had Chadwick Boseman lived, that movie would have been a better movie because it wouldn't have been derailed into being partially a funeral. Mm-hmm. And then the other story elements of it didn't come together because it clearly wasn't the story anybody intended to do in the first place. But it's still the best, I feel like, of the Marvel movies I've seen in quite a long time. And the rest of them, I don't even blip and remember, right? And this movie, I think I might actually remember some elements of this plot 6 months from now and some of what I saw.
Really?
And that makes it a little bit more something. You disagree. And it's kind of nice, because this doesn't happen wildly often, where we actually really legitimately disagree about a movie that we see. And yeah, so I'm now curious about your vibes on it.
I thought it was okay. It serviceable, I think, is the most charitable word for it. I feel like this is mid-tier Marvel. Like 5 years ago, this would have been the movie of a series. and now it's being hailed as like the triumphant return of Marvel, and I just don't think it's that. I have high hopes still for the Fantastic Four movie, especially when you saw the new trailer for it. That looks good.
I hadn't seen any trailers for it, and I was like, okay, like I've seen both of the other Fantastic Four movies. I think the idea of a Silver Surfer is really very stupid, and the movie that had the Silver Surfer in it didn't disabuse me of the notion that it was a really stupid idea, and this movie has the Silver Surfer in it, and it didn't feel outrageously stupid. So I'm taking that as I might actually like this Fantastic Four movie because I didn't like any of the other ones I've seen.
Okay. I'm also very excited for the Superman movie. Not a Marvel movie, obviously, but connected in terms of being a superhero movie. That looks really fun. And I think that was my main problem with Thunderbolts, was it wasn't any fun. Everybody kind of touted it as like, oh, it's got the Marvel humor, and it's got like, the camaraderie and the buddy stuff. And no, this is a bunch of people bickering over which of them had a harder life. It was just really bleak. And Winter Soldier is a decent movie, but it taught Marvel people a lesson that people really want to see superheroes straight up murder real world soldiers, and it just doesn't work for me. It never has. I don't like that part of Winter Soldier. I definitely didn't like it here. The soldiers are just faceless goons. They're just grunts, right, in helmets. But literally the heroes,
Star Wars stormtroopers.
The heroes of this film spend half the film just straight up murdering as many soldiers as they can find. And then the second half of the film, and maybe we'll talk about it if we do spoilers, second half of the film, worthless to me. I just had no interest in the second half of this film. There's a very clear demarcation in the movie between, oh, this is an action superhero movie, and this is a very trite, cliched psychodrama, and it just did not work for me at all.
Yeah, and I felt like that part of the movie was ideas that had been done before, right? But literally every idea in every Marvel movie at this point has been done before. Like, they're out of new ideas. And so, I will take, it didn't feel trite to me in the sense of I've seen this exactly in this way before, and that was enough for me. Like, the visual way that it was represented was interesting for me. And to get more into that is too spoilery.
We might have to just go ahead and do spoilers.
No, I think it's fair not to, right? Like, there's two elements of the way this is done visually, and the part that for me that was very interesting was the way that one character was done visually. And then the other dimension to it is the way the second part of the story happens. And there's some visually interesting elements to that. But that part, I think, is the part that's very trite for you. And yeah, for me, it was like, yes, I've seen movies that have approached things this way before. But I found it different enough and interesting enough that I was okay with it. Again, I'm not saying that this is some like triumph of even superhero movie making, much less triumph of movie making. It's not all that deep, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good for what it was, right? For the kind of movie that it was.
Sure.
It wraps things up in too neat a bow at the end of that, and that was not particularly satisfying.
And it's a pretty unrealistic ending.
It's a pretty unrealistic ending.
We can't talk about the ending because we're not going to do spoilers.
Yeah.
But it had interesting pacing. The ending has interesting pacing. I liked that. There were a couple of moments where I thought, oh, they're actually going to have some stakes in this movie. They did not. But it looked like they might.
But that's, I feel like, is the punch that got pulled with once Infinity War and Endgame happened. It's become clear that there can never be any meaningful stakes in any of these movies ever again. because if anything or anyone is popular, they will automatically not die. No
Sure.
matter how they set it up, no matter what they do, how much they try to convince you that they're going to go away. You know, I walked out of Infinity War going, why was everybody crying? Black Panther 2 is already paid for. So obviously Black Panther is a character that's going to come back, which
Sure.
means some of these other characters are going to come back too, right? Like,
Well,
so it's very hard at this point to feel like there's ever any meaningful stakes. If this character, even if it's somebody you don't know, just a faceless person on the street, but you're shown them in a way that's meant to tell you that that person has meaning or has a soul or has value or is cute, they're not going to permanently die. They never do. And if you need it to have stakes, you can't watch these movies anymore. They
Yep.
just never do.
well, and that's my problem with them.
Yeah.
I think in the end, there's no growth, there's no change. These movies are interchange, like the however many I don't know how the phases worked, but the first couple of phases of the Marvel movies were building to something.
Yeah.
And that thing was big and
Yeah.
important, and it was yes, and they snapped everybody back.
Yep.
We all knew they would, but then they pulled a double reverse whammy by then having all of the Avengers retire.
Yeah.
Every last one of them.
Yeah.
And or die permanently.
Yeah.
I'm still salty about Black Widow.
Yep.
We always will
Did
be.
her dirty.
Did her dirty, and then gave her a lackluster movie long after they should have.
Yep.
Just to set up Florence Pugh.
Yep.
And which is a good thing. We'll get to the good things about
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah. Setting up Florence Pugh is a
We'll-
good thing
we'll
to
get to
do
that.
because she's good.
But I still have
yeah.
a point to make. But
Mhm.
the thing is, like, actually having the Avengers retire, but it now has left the Marvel universe without a rudder. They
Yeah.
are constantly, and they talk about it in the movies all the
Mhm.
time, looking for a replacement for the Avengers,
Yeah.
and there just isn't one.
Yeah.
Because you had these incredibly charismatic actors who were doing something new and interesting and vibrant and real and colorful, and you're replacing them with people nobody cares about because either they're characters from a television show nobody watched, or they are second string characters who were kind of plot devices in other movies, better movies. And like you didn't even remember who Ghost was.
I did not remember who Ghost was, but I also don't remember anything about any of the Ant-Man movies because they're all abominably stupid.
I love
Even
the Ant-Man
even the
movies.
first movie, which I actually did enjoy when I watched it, all I remember is like Paul Rudd getting big, Paul Rudd getting small, and Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. What's the story of that? Not a clue. And then you know, oh, Quantum Zone. I'm like, right, okay, there's a thing there, right. But what I really remember is like him waking up in Endgame, right? Like I've seen the first Ant-Man movie more than once. I haven't seen any of the other ones, just the one time I've seen them in the theater. I find the characters such a stupid idea that I don't want to remember any of it, right? So yeah, one of the characters in Thunderbolts, I'm like, I guess I've seen this character before. It's presented to me like I'm supposed to know who the fuck this is. I don't remember who this bitch is. And it's the character from Ant-Man 2, like the big bad from Ant-Man 2. Okay, she could be in this room. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I guess I saw you. I saw you in Thunderbolts. I wouldn't remember anything else. But, you know, like it's so, yeah, it's all these second banana characters.
Mhm.
But the actual problem, as much as I keep going to watch these things, they should not exist, right? Like you can't recapture things.
Yeah.
So part of what made those first phases work is that they were the first phases. It had not been done before.
Mhm.
Now it has been done. You cannot do it again. So like they tried to do things that weren't literally doing the same thing again and did too many of those, had too many ideas, and then now have basically flushed most of those down the toilet. So now they're going to kind of do something similar again is what it seems like. And maybe people will buy it, maybe people won't, but you know, it's the whole premise is flawed. Like I guess you can get away with this in comics, but in
No, you really can't.
and I mean that's the
whenever
thing.
they do this in the comics sell horribly, and then they have to go back to the old heroes again.
Right, but they have the old heroes doing basically the same things over and over and similar types of things, and you can do that for years because people want that. But it's harder to do that in movies because the movies end up being so similar, and the actors don't want to keep doing literally the same thing for 2 generations. Like, they get older, like, whatever.
Well, I mean...
Or they get bored. But...
You got Robert Downey Jr. coming back.
Man likes some money, clearly, because he got bored with the whole thing. Chris Evans got bored with the whole thing.
But let's focus on Thunderbolts, because that's what this video is supposed to be about.
You know.
And I will say that even for a Marvel movie, this movie was dark in terms of its cinematography.
Yes.
This was an underlit movie.
Yes.
And maybe that was the fault of our projection at our theater, but I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It just looked grimy. And
which was part of the point.
There are literally 0 colors in the entire film. Can you think of a color other than the bad guy's outfit?
Red Guardian.
He's not colorful.
Sometimes he's wearing red.
So the characters in this movie are wearing their old They're wearing their old colorful uniforms, but those uniforms have been smeared with grime.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
like literally.
Yeah, U.S. agent was.
We need to show that these characters have fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
So we will smear feces all over them and make them walk around with dirt on their faces for the entire movie. It's that gross. Like, the U.S. agent's uniform
is dark and dingy.
Is just dirty. It looks like he was in a fire and got soot stained, including his shield.
Well, that's what happens at the beginning of the movie.
No. Okay, he looked like that before that.
He did, yes.
I mean, Yelena doesn't even have a uniform. It's just tactical gear.
Yep.
Which is frustrating to me. The Red Guardian's uniform is kind of red, but it's red as in it's been red and they got like stuffed in a trunk for 30 years.
Yeah,
and
it's maroony
got
red.
Wet at some point and got all wrinkled and rumpled.
Moldy, yep.
And moldy, and it's just, it looks awful.
Yeah,
Bucky Barnes. Jeez, the Winter Soldier
I'm
himself.
sorry. Who has always looked like he's dirty.
A little scummy. Yeah.
Like, that's the whole thing. I've never understood the appeal of the Winter Soldier. Like, I really...
Well...
I miss that.
What about Sebastian Stan?
If Sebastian Stan were in this room, I would not recognize him. I have actually legitimately no idea what that man looks like. Okay. Because in every movie, when he plays a different character, he looks like a completely different person.
He's really good at playing somebody's foil.
Yeah.
He's really good. He was really good with Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm.
He was really good with Anthony Mackie
in the TV series.
But this movie, he plays the leader of the team, and he does not, well, as much as there is one, and he just doesn't have anybody to be bouncing off of.
Yeah, because he's not the leader of the team. He doesn't have anywhere near the most lines, right? Like, Florence Pugh has the most lines.
Like, we really didn't like Captain America: Brave New World,
but
I gotta say, Anthony Mackie basically played this same character, the guy who is trying desperately to live up to the model of Captain America, and feeling like he's failing, and Anthony Mackie sold it, and I don't think Sebastian Stan does.
Yeah, because I don't think he was trying to live up to Steve Rogers's.
He was trying to work within the rules.
He's trying to work within the rules. He's all of a sudden a congressman. I don't remember where that came from. Do I know where that came from?
I think they might have mentioned that in Brave New World.
Okay, yeah.
Like he was running for Congress?
Like he was running for Congress, yeah. Now that you say that, I do remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah. You know, he had this kind of strange role in this movie because he is in this team, but he's also not in this team. So, yeah, he doesn't have the biggest role, right? Like, this is a Florence Pugh movie where whenever David Harbour is on the screen, it really doesn't matter who else is on the screen because you're going to pay attention to him.
David Harbour is the heart and soul of this movie.
And
he is very
fucking
good.
Hilarious.
And Florence Pugh is great in everything
and
she does.
She was really, really good.
She's a real actor.
Yeah.
I mean, she's really got the chops.
Yeah.
I remember seeing her in Midsommar and being like, oh wow, this is the main character of this movie. like just the second you see her on screen, and it never let up. Like she's got the star power, she's got charisma.
Yeah.
They don't have, and she gets some nice character moments in this, but they're not that great. And
I mean, they're not that deep, right? Like none of it is really like all that deep or whatever, but she is able to do a lot with it and is able to sell it.
Yeah,
like,
but she has to keep the plot moving.
Mm-hmm.
She's the only one in this movie who even bothers to care about the plot.
Yep.
And as a result, like a lot of her screen time is just her going, well, I would really like to have an interesting character moment right now, but I can't because somebody has to actually make a movie here. So, yeah, she does keep moving, and she's able to propel this thing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
David Harbour is the heart and soul of it. Like I said, he absolutely is like the one moment of brightness and warmth. And even he is treated like this loser piece of junk who can't do anything right.
Well, that's the entire point of the movie. These are the losers. These are the leftovers. They all come together to accomplish a task, right? And, we're not going to talk about the task because that's really the big spoiler. But
they do it in a way that was a cliche of genre properties in 1993.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember I was there. And reading comic books, watching movies in 1993, and this is exactly 1993's most overused plot device. Yep.
Okay.
And I guess they just expect that everybody watching these movies is too young to remember that.
There's definitely some of that, and there's also the whole universe that literally doesn't care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people who've seen all these friggin' movies, like you and me, are going to go see this movie almost no matter what they do.
Okay. How did we end up talking for 21 minutes about this movie?
Because we can talk about for 20 minutes about our
I know.
toenails, dude.
I know.
Do you know us?
Well.
Right? So, like, if you've listened to this for this long, we can talk a lot about nothing. But, this is like the glory and the downfall of like modern Hollywood storytelling, right? Mm-hmm. Like you kind of don't have to do a whole lot to keep people entertained, except you kind of do, because when you get on the wrong side of the line of what people are willing to accept, they just shit on it, right? Like Ms. Marvel and the Marvels or whatever, that movie, like that movie was also like, hey, let's take a bunch of elements from stuff we've already shown you and put it together in kind of a blender and kind of make it a thing and make it actually very similar to other stuff, but not the right stuff, not the stuff you would think it would be similar to. And like literally no one was interested, No. And so this is characters that people liked. The two big characters from this, of people who had the most dynamism in the movie, are the two characters that people liked from the Black Widow movie. People love the Winter Soldier, right? And then they threw in two other people because they decided they needed to have a certain number of people, right? Like, whatever.
It's always funny when his arm falls off.
Yes, it is. I don't remember where the arm came from. Who made the arm? Did the Chitauri make the arm?
No, the Wakandans.
The Wakandans made the arm.
It's made out of vibranium.
It's made out of vibranium. That's right. So it's I guess that means it is replaceable, because I was wondering about that. I'm like, if this thing gets really trashed, like, did this get made in outer space? Can we replace this? Mm-hmm. No, if it got made in Wakanda, it can be replaced. Not like anybody's worried about needing a replacement, or whether the man even has more than one, because maybe he got two.
He does not.
I would think you should have two.
You'd think, but no, he doesn't.
Well, that sucks.
That's one of the funniest things in this movie, was that he keeps it clean by running it through his dishwasher.
Yes.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah. Anywho, the only other thing I will say, two other things I will say about this movie is there's a character in this movie whose name is Bob, who's you haven't seen before, and you see as this like milk toasty guy, and throughout the entire movie, I am like, this man has a face that I recognize. So I either have seen this guy before, but I don't think I have, or this is a Nepo baby, and I've seen this face before, and it belongs in a man who's a generation older. I have seen this man before in a movie, but I truly don't remember the character. But the man is Nebo Baby. This is Bill Pullman's kid, Louis Pullman, who basically has Bill Pullman's face with a little bit of somebody else's DNA thrown in it.
Better hair.
So I wouldn't say better.
Okay.
Just more hair in this
He's got
movie,
more
but
hair.
this haircut I did not particularly like. But so he has an important role in the movie, but I just literally kept getting distracted by going, "Who are you?" And the other thing is, in the year of our Stan Lee, 2025, do not leave a Marvel movie until the lights come on.
Yeah.
People left at the
People
beginning
walked
of the
out.
credits. The two guys next to us waited through the credits and left at the very end of the credits. There is a post-credit sequence. That's kind of what they do. That's kind of what they're known for. Even if the internet didn't tell you that there was a post-credit sequence, still stick around just in case somebody's keeping it a secret. Because are you kidding me? There's a post-credit sequence. People, do not leave.
There's a little fake out because there's like a kind of like pre-credit sequence.
Yes.
That feels like a post-credit sequence.
Yes.
And then the whole credits, and then the post-credit sequence.
Yes.
Which they haven't done in a while.
They haven't done it in a while, but they have.
Yes.
And this movie, by virtue of being, hey, it's a whole conglomeration of people you've seen from other movies, should give you a vibe that maybe they might do something like a post-credit sequence. Because it is Marvel.
Okay, we should wrap this up because anything else we want to say about this movie is going to be spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. I'm giving it a B-.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really do ratings.
Yeah, I don't
but
know what our grading scale is, because to me,
Yeah.
a B- is better than serviceable.
I will say...
And you've been down talking it like it's less than serviceable.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's serviceable. It's fine. It's a mid-tier Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves it. Like, the press has been great. The audience reactions have been great. All my friends said, "Oh yeah, you're going to enjoy this one. It's really good." Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it
Yeah.
because, like, you know, the end of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I was like, I don't know if I want to see another Marvel movie, right? So I didn't feel this way at the end of this one. So that's maybe what I'm calibrating it against. It, you know, it's not Black Panther, right? Like, there is no other Black Panther.
I think it's
but-
goodwill because people really want to see the Fantastic Four movie,
Yeah.
and so they're kind of like giving this one extra credit because it's you know the last one before the Fantastic Four movie. I don't know. So
I think people watch David Harbour and Florence Pugh like do those characters in this movie and enjoyed it.
they have like one really, really good scene in this, and I really
Together.
did enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's very quick. It's like they don't belabor it, but there's a nice little sequence of them, and they actually act like mother or like a father and daughter.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing. I gotta say, Black Widow wasn't the best movie of the Marvel series, but it had its moments.
I don't know why people were so down on that movie. To me, the reason why people were down on that movie is either Black Widow shouldn't have a movie because she should just be tits and ass, or it was too late, right? And yes,
It was definitely
the
too
movie
late.
was too late, and it was, you know, it was a prequel, basically. Like, it explained something that was going on earlier in the sequence. But as a movie by itself, if that movie had actually been released at the time that it should have in the narrative, I think that was a perfectly fine movie. Like, I don't get what the big damn deal was about it. And, you know, like, misogyny is real.
So if they, that's my final thought. If they had leaned into this as a Black Widow sequel, I would have been happier with it.
Yeah, but that would never happen because we've disavowed that.
Instead, we get a lot of U.S. Agent, who is a character I find completely irredeemable. And this movie did not change my opinion about that.
Not even in the slightest.
Okay, that's it. That's all we're going to say about Thunderbolts.
Mm-hmm.
You already know if you want to see this movie. Don't let me stop you. Don't let me convince you that it's a bad movie. If anything, let me lower your expectations so when you see it, you're like, it's not that bad. Because that always works for me. That I get through a lot of bad movies by reading terrible reviews and then thinking, that's not fair.
Yep.
That movie was okay.
Yep.
So, this movie's okay.
All right. Bye.
Next time.